And share my screen. Let's look. Okay. So today we are going to look at managing multi-language development in Business Central. This is a topic that Joseph had taken us through a bit when he was doing his report some time back. But we're going to take a look at how it works, and it is something that they can also examine in our certification that we would like to do. So Business Central is multi-language enabled. Basically, we've all seen that when we go to my settings, we've all seen those features where you can switch between different languages. It might not be something we focused on before, but it is able to. Another way we've seen these different languages in Business Central, especially when we used to do the predominantly the installation of the on premises. When a new version would come out, let's say right now we have recently received version 280 for 2026 release 1 this April. What we would do is we would go, maybe Margot Julius would go to the internet and they would find for us a set of installation files. And those installation files used to have countries tied to them. So for us as Uganda, because we didn't have a dedicated version for us, we used to take the worldwide option. But we used to have Business Central for France, Business Central for Europe, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the ways we've seen these multiple languages showing up in in different versions of Business Central. So so we have two things. We have a multi-language version of Business Central, but we also have something called the localized version. We're going to look at the difference between the two, and then we'll also see how to use translation files, and what properties you need to set here and there, what are the use cases practically every day that you might need to do, and why exactly are we doing this? Among many other reasons, making our solutions more flexible. We have, for example, that time when we were providing support, I believe, to somebody from AFR, I don't know, when we were doing a manual translation through Mary. Remember, somebody was speaking in their language and um, we were speaking English and we were trying to support that client. People from Burundi, our clients like that. Kim works with somebody, I think, who is like that. So how can we translate some of these solutions? But also, as we take the direction of putting our applications, our bespoke applications as HRP on our app source, we must comply with some of the things that Microsoft requires us to do, and this is one of them. So what is a localized version? It is a version that is adapted to the local market. What does this mean? You'll find that all text that is in the system is which is displayed to the user will be translated to that language. And all functional areas that are adapted to the requirements of that local market. So basically, we try to make it as practical for the day-to-day things now, the rules that apply to their taxes, things like that. For example, you might have a Canadian version of Business Central, and it has a local functionality that applies to the Canadian market. So it gets that specific. If you want to run a localized version in multiple languages. So you see, you can have that version in multiple languages. You need to install language modules. This is something we are going to take a look at in our practical sessions. So we also now have we had a localized version and then a multi-language version. So in the multi-language version, while the localized, you can run it in different languages, all local functionality remains the same. So you run the Canadian version of Business Central in both English and French, but it is still the Canadian localized version. So it doesn't contain the same functionality as the French localized version. So you get that distinction. So how then what we are focusing on is going to be the multilingual, being able to switch between. So again, to reiterate, Business Central is multi-language enabled, meaning that you can display that UI in various languages. We're going to take a look at that. Business Central, to achieve this, we have files that are created that they have an extension, XLIF or CLIF, and in full, this is called XML localized interchange file format. It is a universal format that we use outside of just application language and CAL. It is a universal language for translations, for computer-based translations. We have so many other options, things like Dynamics 365 translation service to get translations for your target audience. We are going to look today at the very basic. If I create, if I have, for example, a file, I have an extension, it has my custom tables, it has my pages, reports, whatsoever. How can I generate this XLIF file for it? I update it with the conversion of the exchange of the, not the exchange, of the language that I want to use. And then I publish that and see how it is reflecting when the language is changed in the UI of Business Central, something they're also going to see. It's important to note that this one-to-one conversion is going to be extremely cumbersome when you're trying to publish, let's say, an entire, maybe advanced HR extension to AppSource, and you need to translate manually. So Business Central and Microsoft, actually Microsoft has put out quite a number of ways, but other than those, also the creators in this space are getting very creative and they're coming up with their own open source extensions to your Visual Studio Code that can help you to do those conversions quickly. Now, we're not going to look so much about those. I looked at the transition from maybe the early 2000s to now. We've gone through quite a number of products that Microsoft keeps on discontinuing and bringing on new ones. So 365 translation service through Azure is the latest one that Microsoft is pushing us to use, where we open up a resource, and in that resource we are able to train an agent with, of course, your files. You're going to give it data so that it is able to in real time do your conversion for you. But even in the certifying of this Business Central MB820, what we are examined is the very basic, because you can rely on those external ones to do the mass conversions for you, but you need to know what properties you need to set. You need to know if there is a glitch, what part of that entire big XML file do I change something maybe out of the box. So we are going to look at the most very basic, and then we can look at some of the others, maybe especially in our free time. So to submit an app to AppSource, you must use an XLIF translation. You have to use those XLIF translation files. Again, this is a standard that we must abide to because that's the direction we want to take. And for you to be able to do this, to generate this XLIF translation file, which is quite easy, in your extension, in your app.json file, you will add that line. We are going to see. When you do that, and then you now run your first build using Ctrl+Shift+B in your Visual Studio Code, what will happen is a folder called translations will be generated, and it will be populated with XLIF file that contains the labels, properties, report labels that you're using in the extension. Basically, it will look at all objects. You will put in your different captions, your tooltips, your whatever it is. It will generate this XLIF file with everything in your language. Of course, you're going to probably generate XLIF files for a variety of languages. So what this does, it generates an XLIF file for every language that you are interested in translating, and you'll be able to go in and update that. So how do we create, what are some things we need to see and think about in terms of properties when we are doing this translation? First of all, we need to do something called, we need to take care of our captions. Captions are those things we put into the different parts of the objects that we create to kind of give a little more light on what those fields, those tables, those on the UI of the pages, maybe through the just the caption is put on the table itself for you to give a little bit of explanation on what that field might be. A more in-depth one would be put on the tooltip, but it was also a way of doing that. So we have a property called generate captions. And what this does is it will create captions for objects that do not have any explicit caption properties. What it will do is that it will use the object name as the default source text, which is essential for marketplace submission requirements. So even if you've taken your time and done your tables, your pages, but you've not taken the time to put captions, it's going to generate for you explicitly do the name of the field as the caption for you, because this is essential. What does this help us to do? When you do this, you eliminate the need for manual caption email definitions. Now, when you generate the XLIF files, things like captions, things like titles, usually we have designated tags for them so that you explicitly convert them. Now imagine if you have put in you have your advanced HR, it has like, I don't know how many tables, it has how many pages. Imagine if you had to go in, even if you're using something to help you do a mass conversion, that is still going to be a lot of work. So when you put this, it's going to just look at the field names and automatically generate them as captions and do the conversion for you. So what it will do, it will eliminate the need for you to manually capture the caption ML definitions. If that object already has a caption, that value will be the one that is used. If you have table fields, the option caption is used, and it will look, the syntax will look at. So if you want to use the captions on top of the translate files, I think we saw on this slide that this is what you use just to, this is what you will use just to do the overall translation. But if you want to put that feature, I mean, you want to take care of your captions, you put a comma and also put your generate captions as well. Secondly, you also have another property called generate locked translations. What this will do, when you put that in your update.json, you specify that you want to generate something called a transunit element for locked labels in the XLIF files, as the default behavior excludes these elements. Question to me might be, what is this locking? Or maybe it is something we've already seen from the different presenters. If I missed that, excuse me. If you have critical system messages, for example, or compliance related text, it will remain visible and translatable even if they are marked as locked equal to true to prevent accidental modification by developer. So even before you come here to the translation, you as a developer may have some things that you don't want your fellow developers to modify. Maybe it is a critical system message, or it is a compliance related text, that thing that you would like to remain in its original form and not have a developer maybe go on and accidentally modify it. So when we enable this flag, developers can include locked labels. For example, the format of designating a locked label is going to be something like this. You do your caption is equal to maybe system error, locked is equal to true. And then in the XLib file for the professional translation, you will add this thing to the entire, now we have like an array in this thing of features that we are putting in our update JSON. So if you also are interested in not just translating, but also captions, and then also this locked translation, you will add it there. How would this be structured? For example, you might have something called a locked label, and the label is called, maybe this text is locked for translation. A comment, you might even have a comment, you might even have a maximum length, and locked is equal to true. Once the system finds those that explicit locked locked element, it will be able to translate it in its locked, with keeping its locked integrity the way you have specified it. Now, the reason why we do this is once we start the generation of the XLib files, Business Central, some of these things are going to come when they're automatically turned off. So depending on your requirements and what you're seeing, you're able to go in and enable them through such things. Otherwise, you will have, for example, the captions being not automatically, not translated, and then you have to go and manually update them, even if you're using an extension that helps you. Before we can go to Business Central, this is a repetition. Basically, we just want to look at the syntax of how you're going to put your, let's say, your captions. If your caption has a locked feature, if it has a comment, you might have a comment inside your caption. You can even have things like your maximum length defined on the caption of the object. But whatever it is that you have here, even if you have your labels, the labels for report label, you have your syntax for report labels, you have your syntax for label data types as well. This is done. But when you generate your first file, if you have your captions, your set and everything on the object, the XLib files will come with those things enabled for you to just go in and make your edits. So what are the steps we take when we want to generate? So we've designed our advanced HR, we've gone through the other preliminary conversion, things to ready our app for the app source. We've finished, and now what we are doing is we want to generate maybe translation files for all maybe different East African languages before we publish to the app source. What steps do we go through? First of all, you're going to, of course, in your app.json, put those features depending on whatever properties you add. So here we don't have the one for the locked. You can also add that. Next, we build and publish our application. So when we have this feature, we already said on one of the slides that if I have the feature equal to translation file, when I build, the system will generate for me an XLib file. Okay, that XLib file will come in English or global, that first language that we have. Now, we need to add a new language. So when we want to add a new language, we copy and we generate an XLib file in the translation folder. Remember, the translations folder has been created once we build with the other property enabled. And then now we modify the target language attribute to the desired language. So for example, this is a language called Lithuanian. So that is the language. If you had, for example, French of France, you might have French of France, you might have French of Cote d'Ivoire. So that is how you define. So for example, French, you'd have FR-FR. English USA, you'd have EN/US. UK, United Kingdom, you'd have EN/or-UK. So that is there. But again, we're going to look at an extension in VS Code where you can be able to generate, and you just define what language, and then the system is able to generate for you designated XLIF files. So once this has been generated and you've put in your target language, you add now translation. So you have something called like a target. The XLIF file comes with its own XML style format. We're going to look at that once we look at the code. And then you'd have, for example, now here, look at this code. What we have here is a table, a field in the table, which has a code, a field called date of issuing the fine. You can see it at the bottom. It is coded in that font that helps you recognize code. And then what we do, we come and we insert a line. We already have a line called target with state code needs to be translated. I'm going to show that to you quickly, shortly. What we do is we label it as either translated, or we can even leave the quotes as blank. What we do is now we come and we put this conversion. So right now on the very first step, I'm going to show you a very manual process where you get this figure, this value in English, and maybe put it in Google Translate, get the equivalent and stamp it in here. And then we are able to see. So all you are doing here is we are changing this line number 3 to update it with the Luthanian way of saying the date of issuing the fine. So we're going to take a look at that now. We'll come very quick. We'll come back and take a look at our assignment later. So in Business Central, this is my Business Central. Before we even go any further, this is, of course, our standard. When we install it, we always have that very first with interface with USD or UGX, probably because that is also the localized version. Worldwide might come universally in English. So what I wanted us to see is that on our settings tool, when we come to my settings, we always have this feature, our my settings page, and from there we are able to make changes, global changes to the entire system in this one setup. So previously, United States, of course, this would also be the region, but let's say I wanted to look at my user interface in French. I would come to here and maybe pick French, France. So this is what I meant before when we looked at the PPT, that I can have French Cote d'Ivoire, French Canada, but I'm interested in French for France. So I pick that. And then once I do that, I'm going to say, okay, what Business Central will do is it will go in and run the multilingual that has been set up in Business Central as a standard. Now, when you take a look at your installation files, I don't think I have one here very quickly, but when you navigate through the path of your installation files of any Business Central, maybe one of our on-premises, you will find that we actually have XLIF files that are embedded in all installation files. That's why the system is able to switch to some of these languages, which is what Microsoft would like us to embody. So you see some of the things have been translated. Some might not, which means they may not have been given designated language conversions for those pages, but you're able to appreciate it now. You see it on quite a number of pages. If you go to, for example, your chart of accounts, maybe not everything will be converted, but you'll see your actions now switch a bit to the language that you've set. What I have done is I did an extension called Developer Certification Prep. It is on the my extension here that we have. And basically, it's just a simple table to keep track of our training for our certification. So I just have a unique number. I have the presenter. I have already converted this, but I'm going to look at what we are going to say. But basically, this is the topic that the consultant did. Is it finished or are we still waiting? And what are the general comments that happened? So for example, Ekaka told us components and capabilities of BC. So this is something I have done. It is the custom thing on a table and an extension that I installed. This is my table. I have put in some captions, but it's a normal, very simple table that we've designed. So once I do this, if I am interested in generating XLIF files for my system, what I do is I come to my app.json, like we were showed earlier, and then I come and put this feature called translation file, or generate captions file. Once I do this, I would be able to, I could do a new one, but I'd need to do a new project. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just do another language for us to see. But basically, once I put this here and I save, the moment I run my first build, it's going to create for me this table. I mean, this folder called translations, and in there it will first generate this general XLIF file, which is basically it's just standard. You can see when you scroll up here that the source language is English USA and the target is USA. So this one is not going to be translated. Now, you can go in and generate a new, and then you put in your different files, but what has been done by those independent, I said Microsoft has come up with innovations to simplify this, but also the people who consume it are very creative. So they've come up with some extensions that you can use. So for example, one of those, we have something called an XLIF sync. And basically it's an extension that you install on your Visual Studio Code. And once you enable it, when you are interested in generating a new file in a different language, all you need to do is run your Ctrl+Shift+P, and then you type your XLIF. And there's quite a number of options here, but what we are focusing on today is your creating of a new target file. And when you create a new target file, you indicate exactly which folder. This is my only folder for now. And then you see it is going to show you all the languages that are available. So let me pick Arabic. Maybe for Kim would be able to appreciate something like this. But let's say any language. So you pick maybe Arabic Kuwait, and what it will do is it will generate for us a new XLIF file for language Kuwait. So it's good because it knows the standard of an XLIF file that is accepted by Business Central. So it will do the coding for you properly. When you're doing this manually, you have to keep in mind that for example, my initials for my language that I've picked is KW, but once you do this this extension, it will do it in the format that your XLIF file is expected to be in when you do it for a system. Also, you can always refer to the translation files that are within the installation files. I forgot to put the path for you there, but it is there. So what happens when you want to now generate? Remember, on our PPT, we looked at the steps. So I have enabled, I have built, and now I already have an XLIF file in my translation folder. So I have added a new language, and I now, basically all I need to do now is here. It was quite a number. It's very swift. So all I need to do is now come here. So in my file, what would that look like? For example, if I look at my French file, I have, so most of this you're not going to touch. It's the skeleton of the file has been generated for you in compliance with the expectations of the code and everything. But what we do is, you see here, for example, this code block, it is for a field, this field, and the name of that field is called the topic. Yeah? So it is this field here that we have, topic. So you see that the description of the field is topic, but I inserted a caption called the topic. So this is the one that it introduces here. So if I want to do my translations now, you will observe that when I did my developer certification prep, let's look at that. When I did my developer, so this is why this translation is important. You see, it came in English, despite the fact that I have put my language as French. So the only things that I have translated are the ones that will be translated. Of course, these we do not count. They are universal, new, modify, line, delete. We are looking at these ones that you have introduced. So that means that if you do not put in your translation, even if someone tries to look for it in French, they will not see it. So that is why we need to go in and do the translation. So if I want to translate other features, maybe my developer certification prep, what I'll just pick this that I've already worked with here. And what I will do is, you see the first, when it comes, it is in status of needs translation. So when you do your translation, you just come here and you can leave this as open, or you can even put it as translated in here. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to say, this is, okay, I want to do, going to do, okay, going to leave that as that. Let me do another field. So the presenter here. So I'm going to pick this and put it on the translator here, this section. And then here, I'm going to pick the presenter. So I don't know what this is. So I'm just going to use a simple Google Translate. So it says, I'm not going to La Presento. Yeah, thank you, Mark. That one. So I'm going to put that here. So basically, you are doing this. This is why we say it is quite cumbersome, because imagine if you had to do that manually. But again, I put emphasis on us knowing how to do this, because we have so many tools that can do the translation for you. But in our certification, we're expected to know how would we do it as an oversight thing when the whatever tool we are using, just to verify, you need to know those are standard. So you put in and populate. I can also do the general comments. Yeah. I'm going to replace this needs translation. I'm going to put that there. And then this is the general comments. Just going to pick this, put it here. So this is, hey, les commenter. That one. So I'm going to go to my here, and then I'm going to substitute it here. So I just, once I do is, all I do is I save. We've come a long way. There was a time when every time you would build, your XML file would be overridden, written. But I see this is no longer there. If you're, okay, maybe I'll take your comments, your hand, Joseph John, when I'm done. Let me just publish this very quickly, and then we can see. Okay. So if I look for my developer, certification prep, I see, okay, I need to check something with my format. The general comments.
That's what I wanted to show you. Yeah. You overwrote the source and the target.
Oh,
So remove one source.
no, it's source.
The source and the target. Huh?
Oh, okay, I get you. So this is what I needed to switch. So this is, I'm going to just do that here. Remove this to target. And then in here, I think you said, see, I got very proud. Sorry. So the general comment that, just to confirm, I put my syntax here. I forgot to put it there. So it's state equal to translated. And then I need to put my closure tag. So similarly, I think I did the same one finished. So I'm just going to copy this.
Even if it's set, the first translated.
Translated. I'm going to put that also. I finished. Yeah. I do finished. I did it.
Presenter.
A presenter. Yeah. So presenter is, yeah. So just state. Okay. So this one should have worked, right?
French.
The presenters, the source, the source wasn't available. Your source is la présenter. It is the French side, the French translation.
It's on line chapter one.
Yes. Oh,
The presenter.
presenter. As a presenter.
Then the
And 32.
la presento.
La presenter. Presenter.
And set translate.
Instead, translated. The quote. Okay. Let's run this again. Thank you. So you also need to understand the format of, let's test this quickly and then I can make that point again. Notification. So the la presenter and then the comment has also been updated there. So also I wanted to say that you need to, because you see, like, for example, we've not touched this one, the developer certification here. So it comes when it is state is equal to needs translation with a closed tag. This took me, I first figured I had to first troubleshoot a bit. So when you do, for example, this and you need to put a closing tag here, you need to remove this self-closing thing here as well, so that your opening tag doesn't have that closure. So that is at the very minimum what it looks like. I just wanted to show you very quickly what we've gone through from before and up to now. Before there were so many things. They were like, for example, this app called a multilingual toolkit. And basically you see it has two tabs on each side. You'd have maybe a base text to translate and then the translated text. So it would simulate similar to what we have here on the Google Translate. Here, what you have on the Google Translate, you would populate your things here and it would be automatically converted for you. But unfortunately, this was discontinued in 2025. So even when I tried to test it, if you had already installed it on your machine, you would still be able to use it, but they're no longer releasing updates to it. But when you try to install it in this post, just a minute. Okay, so you would be able to do that. But now when you try to install it right now, you're not even able to really use it and test it to see, because they completely discontinued it. So among other tools, there was also one. I have so many tabs open, I don't even know whether I'll be able to get it. But there is one which also, yes, at some point would utilize the life cycle setting services, where we had an icon here to translate, but again, Microsoft moved from that direction, and now what they are recommending and asking us to do is to use Azure to build something called a resource. And in that resource, you specify that it is a translate. Basically, what the entire gist of this is that we have something new called a Portal Custom Translator. It's an Azure AI. And basically, you are asked to connect through Azure and authenticate, and then be able to come here and generate and create a custom translator, which you train. I tried to train, but it got really cumbersome. First of all, when you're uploading a big file, it needs to do the testing as it is converting, but also you need to pay for this service. So when I came to my training of my models, what you would do is you would come here, so what I did is, a good starting point is those files that I told you come in Business Central already in your installation file. So that's like a huge file with conversions of from this, maybe general ledger is in this language for French. Maybe open page is this, edit line is in this version. So that file is really big, but for you to come, and you have to come in here and you update that and you upload this entire file, you train a model, and basically by the end of this, you generally have a custom translator AI that is you are able to now link into your Visual Studio Code, so that when you are doing your coding, it is kind of like doing the translation for you in real time. I found it to be quite problematic. It is a lot, and what other developers have done is they've just come up with quite a number of extensions that you can get from your app source, and then it's able to do the mass upload for you easily. Because also, like I said, it comes with a cost, even to do the resource in business in Azure Portal. I had to like do a subscription, even if it's a partial, and you have to put in your credit card and all that. So by the time you come here, even your training of your model, when your lines reach a certain number, you're expected to start now paying to pay for this thing. You get. So it got really, really lengthy. I wanted to do the demo for you, but in the way, it got really, really complicated. So the alternatives that we have are some other extensions here that you can install. I'll do some more research, and maybe if I have a practical, simple one, I can show you tomorrow before the class, but it helps you to understand how this mass update can be done for you. So in our certification, we are mostly quizzed on understanding how to do that on the most basic translation. So we can look at some of those questions, and we can call it a day. Get some. Okay. I don't know what happened there. I copied. I didn't copy. Okay. Then we can see how to answer those. So here we have 3 questions. Answer the following questions to see what you've learned. First question is, what type of a file is an XLIF translation file? Any volunteers? XML. Thank you. What property is used to generate translation files? So we have a caption ML, we have a text, we have a translation, and we have a caption. What did we see it using, referencing, especially when we had like if a table field called presenter with a caption called the presenter? So
caption.
Then what action is needed to generate a translation file? So you said we can set the translation file feature in the launch.json file. we said there's another option saying nothing. Visual Studio automatically generates a translation file for every field. Number 3 says you set the translation file feature in the app.json. And finally, we have run the AL generate translation command.
See.
C.
Th-
Set the translation file feature in the app.json file. So let's check our knowledge. So that is it. Over to you, Tim. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Lynn, for that wonderful presentation. I saw in your code you had some tooltips. Maybe I could have missed it. Are those tooltips also generated? Do you have an option of generating translations for tooltips?
And yes, and I think if we go even further, we can, I don't know even how deep it can go where we even translate the data because the data remained in English. So I did the top level version, but I know we have certain, maybe if I can quickly add. So there are some. So we have caption, there are some that are not, you see, we have a tooltip here. So we have, when we do this, we have some multi-language versions of properties that are not included in the XLIF file. So we have, for example, I think in those we need to do a separate. Yes, and then we distinctly put it. That's why when we want to do our captions, we need to put that property. So I believe maybe also those were not properties that were immediately put in the face of the documentation, but I believe we would have maybe properties also for that. Just that the focus was on captions for now. But ideally, I think it can even go so deep as that data because you see, although we are seeing French here, this stuff is still very much in English. I think it can go a little deeper than that.
Let's try something. First, go back to your code.
Okay, here we are.
Where we had the tooltips.
So first of all, I'll uncomment them.
No, it's okay. I think we shall try it later for the interest of time. Any other question from other members?
Yes, I just have a point to make from the research I made regarding the data. You may not be able to translate that data because, like, if you see how Microsoft did the translation of the labels, be it labels, be it headers, or like the description of the report labels, you find out that they have those files already in the system. So you may not be able to generate the data, like to translate that data. Maybe you'll have to design a specific way of you getting the data, then you maybe throw it maybe in an air, and then you translate it, then you generate the report. But you cannot be able to translate the
it in
data.
real time.
Yeah, in real time. So the challenge the first one I was doing IMC, they wanted also the money. Like when they had a report for the receipt. So you find out that we have we put on the receipt and we put in the money in one. So they had to hard code, and because I already knew the language they wanted, so I had to get each digit that would be used. Like, because I already know the digits, so find a way, and then I put the marginal translations in the code, and I had coding. So that's only currently that's I don't know if anyone maybe has found another way of doing it, but yeah, that was my moment.
Okay, I think also that now that it also throws a bit more light on that Azure thing where you're training your model to translate things for you automatically. It's just that it is something that I found to be the recent one that they are recommending, and there is not so much material online. The closest I saw is somebody who was using it to testing it through APIs with Postman, but not through the AL way. So that would mean it would be something I would need to test, but I think that would work in such a scenario for the agent to do the translation. So you train it through the custom translator like the way I showed you. You pump it with that data, you train it, and then you are able to utilize and publish it. Anyway, so we don't go a lot past time. We have no other questions. I think that is it from me.
Okay. Thank you once again, Lynn, for the presentation.
Most
I
welcome.
believe this has been very informative. One of the key takeaways on my side, we need to utilize label variables as well as using captions in our developments. You find that each time you have, for example, if you're messaging something and you put it in a label variable, then when time comes and you need to do a translation, it becomes much easier. You only concentrate on those labels and have the different languages for the labels. But if you hard code a message or an error, then it means that if you get a client who needs French, it can be cumbersome to go to all those hard coded areas to do the translation. Another point I want to stress out is that I've observed that some people are joining these meetings almost halfway the presentations. So as you know, when the time comes for the exam, I'm giving you a lot of time to do the preparations. So if your signature has a word developer, this exam is not negotiable. You must sit for the exam. It is a must this year. So you are free to miss these presentations, but time will come and it will be a must for you to sit that exam and pass it. Sitting and passing that exam. And to my surprise, those who are actually battling with the developments are the ones who are really joining late. And those who are somehow good with the developments are joining early. So it is something that we need to work on as a team. I don't want us to waste time in this. I want real results from these presentations. We are consuming organization time. If I look at your time sheets, I see if I sum up all the hours we've used, we are getting close to, we've used more than 50 hours. So that time is really valuable for the organization. So at the end of the day, we must also have some valuable output. Yeah, so that's it for today. Let's meet tomorrow, same time. Have a great day ahead. Sorry? Oh, sorry. You know, me, I worked. I thought today was Tuesday. Either Tuesday or Thursday. My week has been very disorganized. So we shall meet next week. I think, Lynn, you have one thing left and then we shall have a speaker. Okay. All right. Have a great day.